Hello.
Hello.
Finally, third time is a charm.
Third time always seems to be our charm, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh my. Okay, so real quick. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Flipping the Script with Joy and Becky. I believe this is our 5th episode.
So,
And yeah, I'm just lighting some sage, and I believe it has some not eucalyptus. What is this? I can't remember. It has something else with it too. But anyways, I'm getting rid of any interference, and I'm putting protection around connection and our electronics, and I'm putting protection around us.
good. I'm glad. I am outside today, and I'm getting up to go walk in the grass so I can connect with the earth.
Help us ground.
Yes. Grounding, picking up toys and shoes in the backyard as I'm doing this. But, that's the life of a stay-at-home mom. Always cleaning, no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go ahead, and since this is finally, I think, burning, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the singing bowl for a minute here and just call in our guides, and I call in our angels and ascended masters and the angelics. I call in the high vibrational galactics, our family, our team, to protect us. Sorry if that caused interference, but I wanted to get it going good.
It's okay. I had my wind chimes going on in the background, too.
Oh, perfect. That was beautiful. Yeah, and I also have some work going on outside, so if I don't think it'll get picked up, honestly, but if it does, they're like street sweeping, doing some other things outside. So anyways, I believe I was being guided towards talking about your NDE and
Talking about what? I'm sorry, it cut out.
talking about your near-death experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that because I wasn't sure what topic we were going to discuss today. But yeah, we can get into that.
Yeah, because I'm definitely, I wanted to touch on, how our core beliefs have changed over the past couple years. Because we both have already talked about being in church. We've both already talked about our awakening a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of wanted to, touch on like how come our core beliefs changed, and
Yeah, what happened? What got us here? What woke us up to the point where we're, got our eyes wide open and at least half open.
what we believe, you know. And before I get started, I did want to just put out, we are not here to debate, only educate. Please do your own research, come up with your own conclusions, just like we have. Please don't take our word for it, our experience for it. We're here merely to relate to, help activate you, help you remember who you are, activate your DNA so that you can remember and start integrating if you haven't already, and acknowledge the integration that you've already been taking on in your body with the activations and activating our DNA. And you can tell because your memories are getting activated as well. So as our DNA gets activated, our memory gets activated, and we start remembering things. And this has been our experience, and we want to share that with you. so that you guys, the audience, and us together, we can activate each other and get ourselves moving. Because we need to touch with each other. We activate each other when we come together, and that's what we're trying to do, is create a space that everyone can just be, feel love, feel accepted, and relate, to us, because we have been through it. We're going through it as we speak. So that's kind of just my.
Well, the only thing that I would piggyback on that is just that my experience and your experience could be completely different than the next person's experience. And just because this is the truth for me doesn't mean it's the truth for the next person. And so that's why, there's no debate needed, because my experience is just that. It's my experience. I don't believe that anyone should believe exactly the way that I believe.
Yep.
And for me, it's not belief, it's a knowing. It's a certainty. I don't preach anything. I'm not evangelical. I'm not, hey, get on my bandwagon
Yep.
and join me and let's go, live in Narnia.
Why not though? Like, honestly, why not? I'm putting my.
That would be awesome, but I think we all have our own version of Narnia that we all belong to, and we've been watching that on Netflix or on Disney Plus with my daughter the last 2 nights. So I've got a lot of Narnia, things going on in my head. And it's so funny, just a little off topic, but it's so funny how kids movies really tell you, like, I'm watching it and I'm going, oh my gosh, that's Luciferian. Oh my gosh, that's along the lines of, Ascension and, oh, that's Mary Magdalene. And I'm like, lining things up with, the whole reality of things that are really going on in the real world, and you don't see it, you don't realize it when you're sleeping.
Well, ultimately, this is a battle between the dark and the light, and ultimately, it's always been.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I'm watching these movies and I'm like, okay, which one's me? Like, which one's my role? Where do I fit into this?
Exactly.
Funny. But you see them and he's riding a white unicorn into battle, and I'm like, okay, that representation right there is just magical. Like, you don't see the symbolism.
It's like every time that scene, where I can't remember, the griffin flies over.
Peter's the older one.
Yeah, well, I meant the griffin.
Yeah. Yes.
The bird, you know what I mean? Like, when he sends them over and and then they start running out on the battlefield, I just get goosebumps, because fuck shit, that's what we're doing. But it's in just we can't see that, we are very limited in what we can see, but because of programming and conditioning, we have an ability, basically every single human being on this planet has an ability, and those abilities unfortunately have been hijacked due to programming and conditioning. And so we need to, what those movies do is they have the ability to trigger us so that we can wake up, and see things differently, which is changing our perception. Yeah,
it's almost like they don't care if the kids see it, because they're not worried that the parents aren't going to believe them anyway, or they're not going to understand all of it.
It's true. By the time we're children, between the age, I guess the school age, from the time we go to school till the time we graduate, they have taken a beautiful light being that came into this world perfectly and turned it into whatever it is that they want that human to do, unfortunately, or have influenced that person so badly.
They're getting poisoned by the food, by the water, by the air, everything. So I think it takes about 7 years for that to take effect, they say, and that's usually the age of innocence.
That's what
And
they
that wears
say.
off.
It takes 7 years to get out of your system too. It surprised me if that's a fact, because it is a fact that it takes. Because I was I got we both got sobered up. We've been talking about it, but after they were like, yeah, after 7 years, it takes 7 years for everything to finally clean out of your system.
Yeah, and I'm about 4 years off of the psych meds, and I still deal with all of that.
Yeah, I'm off now completely. That's probably why I'm having to deal with the issues that I'm dealing with. That makes a lot of sense because um, I'm more raw now. I just feel like a completely new person. And I'm trying to manage all these gifts
Well, it's
that are
like,
coming up.
for so many years I was educated to numb my emotions, and whether it was with drugs or with psych meds or alcohol, it was, don't feel that, don't be sad, don't be happy, don't be too happy, don't be too sad, don't be, like, I wasn't allowed to feel a range of emotions. It was just, you're allowed to feel a little bit. And you think about the fluoride and in the water and stuff, and what does fluoride do? It makes people, you know small and numb, and where they're not going to stand up and fight back. It keeps people where they're,
What we
they're
call
easier to control.
Yeah, we call those people the sleeping, or they've been called the sheep. But what it actually is 100% manipulation. And
Well, I've come to terms with the fact, because I spent so many years buying waters. I'm like, they're going to put whatever they want in all of these waters regardless. And I had to realize that I am more powerful
yeah,
than anything. So, it didn't make sense for me to be spending, money on alkaline water and all of this stuff. I mean, I was spending like $30 every time I go to the store just on
yep,
water.
yeah,
I go to the food pantry so I could afford food, but then go spend all this money on water.
yeah,
And so now
yeah.
what I do is I just talk to my water. You say I love you and I'm grateful for you, and it changes the molecular structure, or the whatever they've done studies how
It
water changes
activates the
cells.
light.
Yeah. So it changes the structure of it, and if we're made of that much water, then imagine what happens when you talk to yourself that way.
Yes, in fact, I was just listening. Now, I've listened to a couple of teachings over the weekend. So I'll just say them. I'm not going to share exactly, 'cause sometimes because of my ADHD, and they kind of mesh together anyway. But yeah, they were talking about the first thing that I was listening. One of the programs I listened to, and I called it a program. I called it a program. Oh
Unprogram,
gosh.
a reprogram.
The programming. Okay, no, it was a show. Okay, I was listening to a show. And yeah, see how we are. And the one was talking about knowing and believing, the difference between belief and knowing. And that was kind of funny because that's exactly what you said earlier too.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one was
It's just, it could be, like, I believe in unicorns. But have I seen a unicorn? Have I felt a unicorn? Have I been with a unicorn? Not in the physical sense. I believe my
not a
dog's a
physical.
unicorn. I think my
I
dog was
know I was.
reincarnated from being a unicorn, and maybe I was too. But those are beliefs. I don't have that knowing of that. That's just a funny thought that could be, could be true, could be not. I don't know. But knowing that there's a presence that's with me and has been with me, that's something that I know. That's not a belief. That's certainty. And
Yeah.
there's a huge difference there. You know what I mean? Like, there's a line between what I think could be, and then what I know to be true. And so I'll just dive right in, because I know you and I could probably just talk forever about all these other subjects.
Nope, go ahead.
Um, but so for me, I got sober originally by going to rehab in, I want to say 2006, 2007. This was my first time in rehab. I was 22. Very, very, very young. No idea what any of this was at all. And, I relapsed and I got sober. And finally, I put a year of sobriety together. And, um, I was just kind of going through the motions, doing what I was told. My family was putting me, putting me in a box and saying, okay, now we can control you. Meanwhile, they were all drunk and off their asses. But because I was doing cocaine, that was unacceptable. But if I did it with them, or if I partied with them, then I'd be fine. But I like to do my stuff on the side and not with them. So I was the black sheep. I was dangerous. I was cannon. So I was the one with the issue. Um, so putting me in rehab and keeping me out of trouble was their solution. And for me, that was a real awakening, because I'd come out of rehab, and they're like, okay, we can't drink around you, so we're not going to invite you to family stuff. And it's like, so before you wanted me to come to family stuff, but not party and not do all of this stuff. And now you want me to come to family stuff and not do it, but now you're going to treat me like I'm not welcome. So it's weird. I've always kind of been on the outskirts of my family, not really fitting in for a reason. But I think it was 2004, I want to say, I started, really, I mean, not 2004, 2008, 2009. No, sorry, I went way back. But yeah, 2008, 2009. See, my mind is all over the place. I got that first year of sobriety, and after 14 months, I relapsed in one night. Um, and then I believe it was 2 weeks later, I was really beating myself up and really, really like down on myself. And I went out. Sorry, I got the dogs.
No problem.
Dogs
They're
are
fine.
coming in. Charlie, stop. Calm down. Hey, come here. Little distraction. Maybe it's
No.
a notice to calm down a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So in 2009, it was June, I went out and hung out with some really, really not so, some seedy characters. And I was supposed to be house sitting for my dad. And so that next morning, I was coming down off of ecstasy, like coming down hard and fast. And I don't know if you've ever done that, but like the when you've done it so many, and because I did it for years, did ecstasy for so many years, and it got to the point where it was no longer working, so I had to take so many of them to get the same feeling. And then when it wore off, it was like this huge hit, where you go from like highs and dopamine and ecstasy and like complete happiness to complete nothing. And I just felt this emptiness and this shame, the shame that I felt. And so I was at my dad's house, and I have this random person with me, and they're passed out in the other room. And I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm feeling this feeling of just complete nothingness, complete empty, complete void, and nothing but shame.
Separation.
Yeah, just an empty, like the furthest feeling you could feel from God, if you
Yep.
could imagine what that would
Complete
feel like.
separation. Yep.
Yeah. I had no human connection. I had no, because I had, in my mind, without sobriety, I don't have friends. Without sobriety, I don't have family, and so I'm sitting here and I'm feeling completely isolated. And this thought pops in my mind that I just don't want to feel this way. I don't want to feel anything anymore. And, I'd had some suicide, idealization and fantasies and some small attempts in my teen years, but at 24 years old, it wasn't, I didn't call anybody, I didn't tell anybody. It wasn't a cry for help. It was, I'm going to go do this, and I'm not telling a person, I'm not telling anybody. And it all happened so fast. I mean, between having that thought and taking the action was maybe minutes. So I have the thought, I go into the kitchen and I look for anything that I can find. And I find this huge bottle of Tylenol PM. And I must have ingested about half of them. But the funny thing is, I don't remember. I don't remember taking them. I know I took them, but I don't remember, swallowing them or any of that. So I remember myself lifting the bottle, and then the next thing I remember was laying on the couch and the phone ringing because my dad's calling to check and see if I'm at the house to let the dogs out. And I'm not answering the phone, and all I hear is the phone ringing. I'm laying on the couch. I can't move. I think at some point I wrote a note, which I tucked under my body or something, or into the couch or something. No idea what I wrote on the note. Probably something like, "I'm sorry, Dad." And the next thing I know, my aunt is banging on the front door. Now, nobody but my dad knows I'm there. I'm sure he had called her to see, if anybody had let the dogs out or something, but it had happened in such a small span of time for my aunt to show up at the house at that particular time. It was like, something was calling her there. So she's banging on the front door, doesn't have the key to get in. She goes around to the slider, and I can't see any of this because I'm, on the couch, and I'm just looking up at the ceiling, but I know everything that's going on. And I think at that point I had separated from my body.
Yeah.
Because I was fully aware of everything. I could see everything. I actually could see myself on the couch. So she's banging on the slider and has to literally lift it off its track. I mean, she's like hysterical. Can't see me on the couch because it had the back to the couch to the door. So she doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know to have a panic, but something's telling her to panic. And she literally rocks the sliding glass door off the slider, gets in the house, and then immediately calls the paramedics. They come in, they resuscitate me, or try to resuscitate me. And this whole time I'm disconnected. I'm watching it from outside of myself. And they're getting me on the gurney. They're taking me out to the ambulance. I see my grandfather, and this is not from my body. My eyes were closed. I was unconscious. I was completely gone, in my mind. And this is just me remembering everything, but I remembered it like there's no way I could have seen all of this from my body, even on a gurney. So they're wheeling me out, and I'm watching. I see my grandfather coming or sitting in the back of the car, or the passenger side of the car, as they're wheeling me by, and he's just got this look of like fear. My cousin was there as well, and so they get me into the ambulance, and I remember the conversation. It's funny because if they knew that I was conscious, they wouldn't be talking about me the way they were. Um, Anybody that's an ambulance worker or EMT or whatever, just be careful what you say, even if you think the person's unconscious, because they remember.
Yeah.
And they were saying, who is she? And, because my grandfather was the mayor, our family was pretty well known in the area. And I said, oh, she's somebody well-to-do or somebody important. And then one of the guys says, I wonder if that's the boob job. These are the things that you just can't make up. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
you
my
just can't
God.
make up. Like, here I am, like on my deathbed, and they're talking about, like, who is this person? Like, what's the fuss? And
Oh my God.
funny.
Oh my God.
So, but I'm just basically riding along. I didn't see myself as a spirit or anything like that. Like, I know that there was a disconnection. And so I wasn't connected back with my body until they brought me into the ER. And they did like the smelling salts or whatever. They kept knocking on my chest, and I could feel them knocking on my chest. And then the smelling salts would wake me up, and then I'd go back out. So it was like I was doing this pulling back and forth between this world and the next. And they kept trying to bring me back, and I just wasn't having it. And then finally, sorry, my dog's going nuts.
No problem. It's okay.
Charlie, come over here. Charlie, come on. Come on.
They're protecting you. You're fine.
I know. They're just making sure that my space is safe for me talking about this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie, come on.
Yes, they are. They're always protecting us.
I know. I've got my salt circle, but I've got my little guards making sure they're prowling the property. But so, all right. So I'm laying on the table in the ER, and the triage or wherever they take you when you first get in there, and they're trying to force me to ingest like charcoal or whatever. And so I keep going in and out of from above to in. And I remember them forcing me to take the charcoal, and that was not something I would ever suggest anybody ever choosing to do. This is not a fun road. And then so I took that, and I remember my aunt coming in, and the look on my face was I was angry. I was mad that she came, mad that she found me. There was no reason for her to be there. There was none, other than she had some kind of intuition to get there and to go to that extreme.
Or it was God totally intervening.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Something was signaling to her that she
Yep.
needed to get in, and she needed to get in now. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for her and the random person, she literally told him to kick rocks, and he had to walk like a half an hour what would be a half an hour drive. He had to walk that home, and he had no wallet, no nothing. So he was a little pissed, which I can understand. But so anyway, back to the hospital. So I'm in the hospital, and like there's so many times where I just felt like I was going in and out of my body, in and out of this realm, and then into the spiritual or wherever, if I was just in limbo or what. But I'd never really disconnected from myself completely. I was always there, until it got to that night. And I'm not sure which night it was, because I was supposedly there for 3 days. Which goes with a lot of our spiritual stuff. The 3 days of, not to compare myself with Jesus, but a lot of us go through this, and there's like a transformation in that.
Yeah, never doubt that. Just always just go with it.
Yeah.
Always.
But so, and one of the nights my aunt was there, and I grew up in the Catholic faith, so she was reading me basically my last rites, because I guess at this point they told them that I was not going to be continuing, that this was too far gone. I mean, that's the reason that you read the last rites, is basically the last sacrament in the Catholic faith, is they're passing you on to the next step, or whatever.
Your next drop.
Yeah, like you're not going to make it. They're not going to read your last rites. And I hear normally it's a priest that does it, but my aunt's very involved in the Catholic Church, so I don't know what all that entailed. I don't know the details of that. But anyway, she's reading me my last rites, and as she's reading them, I feel myself leave. And I'm no longer there. I'm completely somewhere else. I was in what I would call Zabalba, or like a cave, like they talk about, like going down into the earth, being sucked down into like a mine shaft with train cars, and there was these demons like gargoyles that were basically like pushing the train car, and I was just like being shipped off to wherever, hell, or wherever they put lost souls, or whatever. And so I was no longer present with my body anymore after that. And that was when I believe that when I flatlined. So, like I said, I wasn't with my body anymore, so I don't remember. But I immediately saw this bright light, and it was like I was picked up by Jesus, by I don't know, I don't want to put a name on him, because he didn't say a name, there was no words, but it was a man in a white robe with the red flaming heart, like the Sacred Heart or whatever, picked up and taken, and completely taken out of this place that I was, wherever I was, and I was in the light, completely in the light. And I don't know how long I was there. I don't know. I just remember the feeling, and the knowing that anytime that I ask him to, that he would hold my hand, and he does. I could be laying in bed at night now and say, whoever, Jesus, or what, hold my hand, and my hands immediately get warm, tingly, feeling that someone is there. He's always by my side. It's a knowing, and this is why I don't put a name on it, because it's like, it's so much more than just the idea of what Jesus is in this life. And I hate to get all religious with it, because it's not. It's so beyond religion, beyond what anybody's understanding of it. And there's no words. There's literally no words that can describe that feeling of being in that light and that just complete bliss. But it wasn't my time. And there were many factors that went into that happening, and I realize that now. So as I'm coming out of the light, I'm all of a sudden I see the number 60 on the little monitor, the heart monitor that's in the bed next to me, and they're all rushing into the hospital room. So at this point, I'm back in my body. And I didn't leave my body again after that point. I was back, and I come to find out afterwards that my grandfather had been rushed into the hospital with heart failure in the same moment, and he died at that same time, in that same moment. And my belief is that he knew that he was coming to his end of his time, and that he chose to sacrifice himself in some way, in a spiritual level. Maybe made a deal or something in order to allow me to complete my mission. And so he passed at that exact moment when I was waking up, in the same floor in the same hospital, couple doors down. And I know that I would not have come out of that dark place, out of that hell that they were wheeling me down to, had he not made that deal, whatever it was that he made, in order for me to live.
Yeah.
And I'm completely grateful for that. But I know that that was part of our soul contract, and that part of his mission was to come here and to make that deal so that I could continue. I've debated with myself, does that mean, that he traded his life for mine, or was he just making that sacrifice so that I could continue? And, and then I'm on my own or whatever. But, I don't want to get into detail, into thinking about it like that. Do I have a limited time? Am I on the clock? And it might be, maybe he traded what he had left for me. I don't know. I don't know the semantics of it. I just know that I'm meant to be here for a reason. And then coming out of that, oh my God, coming back to the world, it hurt. It hurt physically so bad. You want to talk about pain? I have never felt more pain in my entire life, ever. Childbirth was nothing. Childbirth was a hop, skip, and like a breeze. Like I think about when I gave birth to my daughter, and that was so easy compared to this. Coming back into my body, I was like, it was just, everything hurt. I don't know if disconnecting and then coming back after dying, it's like your body just, I don't know if I just felt death and what that feels like. But it was hard. Recovering from that took me a long time. And, immediately after I came back, they threw me into a detox, like a rehab, where they're going to monitor you to make sure you're not going to do it again. And while that was happening, my dad and my aunt said, you need to check yourself out of here because your grandfather just died. You need to come to the funeral. So they literally are monitoring me at home while they're all having this drunken fest because my grandfather has passed, and they're trapping me in a room and everybody's having a party. Because that's how my family, celebrates death, is they all get drunk and have this huge festival for like 2 weeks. And so I'm literally like on the verge of death, just coming back. Nobody has any consciousness. Nobody has any idea of what I have just gone through. I didn't even know. I just know I was angry, and I'm like, you people don't even, you're not even like cognizant to the idea or the realization that how close I was to not being here. And I understand that they had their own things that they were dealing with, and they're so not conscious and not aware of anything. But the
Yeah.
way that they treated me after that was like I was just this pariah, like I was just a loose cannon, and they just wanted to lock me up and shut me up and keep me quiet and keep me behaved. And nobody understood any of the stuff that I had gone through. And so, I have a lot of I've had a lot of resentments that I've had to work through, with the way that they've treated me, and basically shunned me. And, nobody wanted anything to do with me, like pushed me as far away. And I'm grateful for that now, because I wouldn't be where I am if I was stuck in their cycle,
Exactly.
so. And then since then, it's been, trying to get off of all of the psychiatric meds that they shoved down my throat after
Yeah.
that point. Because I think, I don't know if I want to say like on the medical level, but I think on a higher level, they realize they already know who we are, and they know what they monitor us. That the dark ones definitely know who's on the side of light, and who they need to watch out for. And so seeing me go through this, where everybody else is seeing me as a pariah, I think was, we need to get her medicated and keep her shut up and keep her quiet and disconnected. Because I had that truth, that knowing came to me at that point, after being in the light and being with the presence of God, knowing, like there was a difference between the light and the presence of God and that physical being, you know what I mean? Like the light being of Jesus was, they were in the same realm, but they were separate entities. That light was God. that light and that presence and that peace, that was God. The light being is my interpretation of God at that time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So and that's pretty much how I see it now, is that, you know, my interpretation of God and what God is are, they're in the same realm, but they're two different things, you know.
Yeah.
Because our human brains can't interpret that, and so it's kind of like he has to come down to our level so that we can see him.
Yep.
And so I think that's why there's so many different religions and different brands of this is what's right and this is what's wrong, because people have that knowing and they don't see that there's two separate things. There's the true real energy, and then there's where he has to come down and talk to us, and so he has to come in a form that we're going to recognize and not be afraid of. And so everybody has that, well, I've seen God and this is what he looks like. Well, no, that's not necessarily God. That's just how he represented himself to you.
Yep.
You know?
Yes, where I had because AA honestly had given me the ability to separate religion from God, and so because I was able to separate religion and God, I was able to have my own understanding of God, my own relationship with God, which I had already had. And what AA helped me do was just realize that I already had that relationship the whole time. I just, that's where the perception changes come in, you know. It's just you, and yeah, I mean, your experience is fantastic, you know, as far as for you and your learning experience. And that's like so amazing how your aunt just, you know, and just intuitively was like, I need to get in here right now. And
Yeah,
I'm
like
getting
it's
in
not
here right
just
now.
like, you know, it's not just like, okay, let me knock on the door and check. It was like, I got to break down this door.
That's because her guides were like, get in that fucking house right now, you
Mhm.
know, because you were not done, you know. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to say at the end before I speak a little bit?
No, go ahead. Yeah,
No, I didn't want to interrupt any final thoughts, or I mean, we'll do final thoughts at the end actually still. So I
yeah,
mean,
no, the only thing I would say is just, you know, since then, my interpretation of God and my relationship with him has changed in so many different ways, to where, you know, back then I think it was defined, and now there's like, it's more of the light as opposed to the figure, you know.
yeah,
But
there's a
yeah,
it comes with like I feel like the more we grow, the more flexible we are. Like we're so rigid, like religion, you know, and rigid just
yeah,
go hand in hand. Religion and rigid. That's, I mean, so if you can just be more flexible, I mean, being flexible is basically God, you know,
that
that
ability to shift and
fluidness.
change and do
Yeah,
whatever you need to be in
shift,
that moment.
yep,
Kind of like water, if you think about it, it takes
absolutely,
whatever, it takes the form of whatever shape, you know, whatever it's in.
whatever
It
it's in.
it molds. It's in the air. It's in the grass. It's in the ground. It's everywhere around us. It's in us. You know.
It's just a tickly feeling in you when you think about it, you know, because and just like you were saying, like you can put intention and thought and love into your water before drinking it, you know. And that's what I started to do. And I think honestly, I started doing that when I listened to Elizabeth April. I think I got it from her on learning how to set intentions and listen to your body and just basics, you know, when you're first waking up, like how do you listen to your body? Like, and you can do mirror work where you look in the mirror and you ask your body, what do you want today? How are you feeling today? You know, and then you're just quiet, be quiet, you know, and that's where you find God is in that quiet. You find yourself in the quiet. Why do you think they're so loud and
That's why
noisy
there's so much
and
noise and distraction
distracting?
going on. That it's, I
Yep,
find the closer I am to connection, the louder things get. The louder my daughter gets, the louder the phone rings, the more often the phone rings.
well,
You know.
there's for that too. Always going to distract us from our purpose and raising our vibration in any way, shape, or form.
Yes. Well, they've got their beacons out just like we do.
Yeah,
Oh,
but we
oh,
know how
she's
to
close.
protect ourselves. We can
Yes.
protect ourselves with frequency. We can protect ourselves with sage. We can protect ourselves with our intention. I have a candle going, you know, I have incense going. I've set a sacred space in an altar I have my sound bowl. I have different ways to, they can't handle that, you know. And then I also have, you know, I hate to say banishing spells, but I do. And I put them around me, and I'm shielded, and they can't come in here. They can't tolerate the vibration that I'm carrying. And the higher I go, that's why I don't like to leave. And I have a real problem. You know,
Yeah.
I'm actually seeing a counselor because I really have a real issue right now.
Agoraphobia.
I think it is kind of agoraphobia a little bit, but it's more of me trying to protect my energy.
Yeah. Well, I've
But
come past that at the point now where anything that comes into my field is like, if it's not of the light, it's immediately being transmuted. And so I'm finding myself in more negative situations or with negative things coming up, but it's like they're coming to be healed. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm protected. I am the protection. You know what I mean? Like I no longer need the protection. I still use the protective things, but like I'm seeing myself as the protection. I'm what needs to be watched out for. If that makes any
yep.
sense. So it's like, you want to come near me, that's fine, because you're going to the light, because that's what I'm emanating. You know, so
Absolutely. So that was amazing, honestly. So let me bring it back again. So I'm gonna just kind of go over mine a little bit here. So I have already gone over like my religious stuff, you know. And so in school, I was really, really bullied. You know, I was an outcast. I was really bullied. I was very bullied. I mean, now looking back, I'm pretty sure it's because of my light. I was a very, 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 very high vibrational being as a child, and immediately I couldn't, like, the food that I was being given was basically poisoning me. And so what does food do when it poisons you? Well, it's funny you ask. It makes you fat and put on a whole bunch of weight, and then it throws your hormones off balance. And it's, you know why? They put shit in your food like parasites, you know, and the parasites go in your body and they do various things, but we just constantly are putting this poison in our body. And my body was basically allergic to it, but no one ever paid any attention to the food I was eating. They just did test after test after test after test. So I got to drink charcoal, but it wasn't because I overdosed. It's because they wanted to see the charcoal go through my digestive system, and see what was wrong with my digestive system. Obviously couldn't have been the food I was given. Highly sensitive to people around me. I was very bullied, you know. That's how sensitive I am. Just boom, I can cry. Like I feel everything. And if I literally feel everything. Like I don't know if that's my autism or if that's just me, but I feel very quickly, and it's very, I've always been that way. And I guess that's not normal. Like other kids didn't do that. So I always just tried to fit in, and that never worked. And then my parents, it was very confusing in my household because of church. You had to look a certain way. Love was very conditional. Everything to everyone that on the outside, I'm sure we looked like a happy family. We were normal, mother, father, married for over 50 years. You know, they were together since they were kids. Um, Church, all that. You know, we had to look good and all of that. Anyways, it was very conditional, very confusing to me because I knew that I just knew even then that I was here for something. Like I had something to do. And it's funny because I remember as a child walking, and I just walking along, and I felt the impression of being so short. Like, why do I feel so fucking short? And I don't know, you know, it's so weird. Like, I don't know if anyone ever felt that, but I remember just walking as a child, just regularly and just feeling so fucking low to the ground. Like, it really made me almost dizzy. And it's really funny. I don't know if anyone else felt that. But anyways, so I did my best to just shut down all of the noise. I just remember trying to shut down all of the noise because I was very sensitive. I picked up on energies everywhere. I'm sure I picked up on voices, things like that. Even now I see orbs in the corner of my eyes. Sometimes I'll see things in the corner of my eyes, but it's nothing to worry about. You know, I mean, now I know. Back then, as a child, I was terrified. And then on top of that, we played with the Ouija board. You
Oh,
know, we played with the Ouija board. So then I think, I don't know if it was about the time I fell, which is what I'm getting into. But anyways, I always hung out with the neighbor kids across the street on Golden. I grew up on a street called Golden. 4991 Golden. Add those numbers up. And I was like, always I always was sick. I was sick every month. I was homesick, and no one did anything about it. They just did test after test. Like, there was something wrong with me.
Yeah, your body was not liking the poison so much.
Yeah, well, then there was something wrong with me, not the food, right? It's always me that there's something wrong with, you know. So then, of course, I'm a sinner too. I was born a sinner. And then I'm just this awful piece of shit who has to do certain things in order to get into heaven. It's very conditional.
Yeah.
You have to wear dresses and act a certain way. God forbid you have your ears pierced, which I did. I had to have my ears pierced at 6. So some churches were like, oh my God, you know, with the piercings. Oh shit. God forbid girls wear pants. God forbid. You know, that's the stuff I had to deal with. Like, it was so very confusing to me. I just was like, you know, but then what was awesome about my parents is that they loved Jesus so much. And they had like pictures of Jesus on the wall. There was one picture of him holding, you know, standing behind the guy at the ship, whatever, the ship wheel, whatever you call it, you know. There was also the ones that said Jesus was my friend. And now looking back, I'm like, yeah, Jesus is my friend. I work with him in the astral. What's up? You know, like that's who I am. And like, yes, we are brothers. That's my brother. That is my equal. He is our equal. He's not a god. He's not a savior. He's our friend. And, you know, the rituals are unnecessary. The going to church is unnecessary. All you have to do to get in touch with God or Jesus, if you prefer, or Archangel Michael, or whoever you feel like you want to contact, you open your mouth and you speak, and they will answer you. And there's a book called, what was it called? By Neil Wall.
Conversations with God.
Thank you, my dear. Conversations with God, which my best friend Christina bought me during my very first awakening, early 2020. And I realized,
I got it right here too.
yeah, I gave my first book to my mother-in-law, but I don't think that went anywhere, unfortunately. But anyways, I tried, you know. Anyways, I really did, because it made such a huge impression on me, and I really just wanted to share that with everybody because I thought it was so fucking magical that you could literally write a sentence and then write down whatever comes to your mind, and you can get answers that way. And then you realize that you've been doing that your entire life. I was doing that in college, writing a thesis paper. You basically have a subject and then you start pulling this knowledge down, you know. And so we're already channelers. We're already picking this up. Everybody has the ability to do this. It's not new. It's not special. Everybody's been doing this a very long time. All right. So we can get over the, oh my God, you're weird because you're a fucking channeler. No, you fucking channel, bitch. Shut up.
You want to
All
talk
right,
about
look.
channeling? Hold on one second. I just opened the book, and you want to know what the sentence that I picked was?
Please do, please.
Everything has moved. Everything has shifted. The purpose of life has changed, and so has life itself.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no.
You know
Like,
what I'm saying?
honestly, yes. So it's like, oh my God, you know. So then, okay, so let me go back. And I believe everything happened at about 6 or 7 years old, I'm going to say. I think it was either my 6th birthday or my 7th birthday. I was playing with the kids and I slid down a railing. Now, I don't know if you're, well, I'm sure you are familiar with old Victorian houses, and then they make them into apartments. So basically they build stairs going down from the outside, and
like
they go up to the top. Right.
Staircase from the side of the building.
Yeah. And some of them can be very steep. Anyways, I was playing with my friends and we were sliding down that, and I fell. I fell from the top, and I got a concussion, and I fell, and I remember I don't remember anything. I was just really sleepy. I just remember I was tired, and the ambulance came and took me, and I woke up to throw up, and that was it. They kept flipping me on this bed, like this gurney flipped. And so every time I would go to throw up, they flipped me over. But they didn't want me to move because I was, I didn't have x-rays yet, so they didn't check my bones. But nothing was broken. Nothing was broken. And I was perfect. I had a concussion. And during that time, I was like in and out of my body. But the problem is that I don't remember where I go when I leave. I have separated that part and I don't know how to get it back. Anyways, or I never had that ability, or I'm so used to doing it that I forget. Like, I don't know. It's whatever. I might need a hypnosis therapy to try to get that, resolved. Anyways, I just remember them flipping me over in the ambulance. I don't remember anything after that. I woke up in my hospital bed, and my parents, they were just, bringing me my toys and stuff. And I remember I had a strawberry shortcake doll in the 80s. They had these strawberry shortcake dolls, and they smelled like strawberries. And they had a blueberry one that smelled like blueberries, and so on. They probably, I don't know, they've tried to remake them over again, but it's not the same. Stop doing that. But I remember and it was my favorite doll, and the child next to me was crying, just crying, and I was like, I gave them my doll. Like, that's what kind of person I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I'm crying. I guess something needs to be released, Anyways, whatever it is, I release you and I honor you. So I remember just giving them that doll, trying to help them feel better, even though I was sick, even though I was hurt and probably weak and dizzy because I hadn't eaten. But I gave them that doll. That's what kind of person I am. I've always been that way. And the world has just fucked me up. Becky, it's fucked me up. And I was like such a pure soul when I got here. I relate so much to John Coffey on the Green Mile because it's like you come here and there's all this ugly and disgustingness. And I came from source, and I'm here as the source being of pure light, just getting poisoned. They know who we are. They know who we are. They know, they know. Okay. So this is the part where I'm not sure what caused the dreams, but I start having this reoccurring dream of being in tunnels on a minecart, and I don't remember demons pushing me or anything like that, but I remember that the main demon in the middle looked like the devil in Fantasia, and it was identical to the devil in Fantasia. And I hadn't seen Fantasia, or maybe I did, I don't know. But all I know is that I started having this reoccurring dream, and it was every night. And then I started the demons would fuck with me. The thought forms, demons are thought forms, okay? We can create them. We're so powerful that we can create what we think. We can create what is in our subconscious. We are so powerful. So I'm struggling because now all these fucking dark things are in my head, and they know that I can create that shit. And I don't know how to turn it off. And my parents are religious, and I'm just scared all the time now. Scared all the time. They're always around me, always, and then I'm like in school, like I'm just trying to stare at my hand and look at my aura, and everyone's looking at me like I'm weird, and I'm just like, why don't why doesn't anyone else feel this way? Why doesn't anyone else see their aura? Why doesn't anyone else see spirits or hear spirits? Why am I the only one? What the fuck, And I don't remember if I had a near death experience, not necessarily a near death experience, but definitely a traumatic experience. It's a trauma to my brain, basically, and it triggered something. Either that or the Ouija board. It was all about the same time, I think. But anyways, just like there was a kid that passed away, he got hit by a car. I went to a school called Myra Lynn Elementary in Riverside. And at the time a child got hit, and that at that time they put in lights and crosswalks and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, they were like, oh my God, his ghost is in the bathroom. Like, and literally could see weird shit if they made me go in there and look. Like the bullies always made me do all the scary shit, Anyways, so I had to deal with all that shit, and then I get through that. I don't know how I made it. I really don't. I get through all that. I get into not a lot happened in middle school. I'm gonna be honest. In middle school, 7th and 8th grade, I didn't really do much. I don't remember a lot. And then puberty hit me. Bam. And in between 8th and 9th grade is when a lot of changes started happening to my body. And then I kissed a boy and all that happy shit. But man, I was plagued with being sensitive, and then just having to deal with, food and just now I know that they, whoever they are, we know who they are, they had a major part to play in all of that, and then with the MK Ultra programming, you throw that in the mix with the Disney movies, and you just got a whole lot of public people that are able to be manipulated, unfortunately, and played with. And they sure the fuck did. They did social programming, social experimentation. I was part of the meth social experimentation, putting needles in my arm, that kind of shit. I got addicted right away. And the reason I did is because it fucking makes you feel amazing. And that's where we come from. And we can get so addicted to that because we know that that's how Source feels. That's what it feels like to be plugged into Source. Okay? Like all those endorphins and that love and that acceptance and just the highest feelings you could ever possibly imagine. And they've created a substance full of fucking parasites to keep you addicted, and it's the parasites that we know as parents, as a mother, what it's like to have a child inside of you telling you what to eat, right?
Yes.
So we can relate to that. We can relate to craving.
I still cannot eat pizza rolls or hot dogs with I still can't. They still turns my stomach. Still.
Truth. So in that respect, that's what parasites do. That's why they have commercials, that's why they have, I'm not going to go into all that, but you can see where that goes. And honestly, look into it. If you don't believe me, that's fine. That's okay too. Either way, I know that I was so addicted, not only because of the way it makes you feel, but the parasites and the stuff that they put in it, Back then in the beginning, it was pretty pure ingredients, but over time they banned the ingredients from being sold and that kind of stuff. So then it was all just basically poison. I mean, I don't even know what they were doing these days. They were like spraying Raid on some fucking screens and scraping it off and calling it meth. I'm just like, what? That's fucking gross. Like, ew. I feel bad. Like, that's bad. That's the fuck, you just putting straight poison into your body. So they've taken a pharmaceutical and just made it straight poison, and people are still doing it. That's the fucking hard part.
Absolutely. Well, and what
That's
people
bad.
don't understand is the origins of methamphetamines. I mean, who, who was giving it to all of the Nazis,
The military
SS soldiers? No, I'm saying it came from Adolf Hitler, and the most
did.
evil thing that you can think of, the most evil person, like if you ask a random person on the street, who's the most evil person in history, they're going to say Adolf Hitler.
Hitler.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So this
Yeah.
is where this drug is originating. So think about
Yep.
what we're that's all about intention. And
Yep.
the intention of that drug came from someone with
Still the
the
same.
worst intentions. And so just because it's 40, 50, 80 years later, it doesn't mean that that drug has changed. I mean, the ingredients might be different, but the intention behind its creation is
Yeah.
still underlying, and it's still there. And that's why, even though you have that few moments of euphoria, and that's what I was addicted to, was that 20 minutes
Yeah.
of hitting that bowl and feeling that euphoria for 20 minutes, and then I signed up for 24 hours of chaos, and then I'd hit it
Yeah.
again, and then 24 hours of fucking hell. And you don't know what hell you're going into, but you're literally, it's like you're signing over. You say, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
get a few minutes of feeling amazing, and in order for that to pay that price, I'm sacrificing my sanity, my
My soul.
relationships, my
It's
life,
selling
my
your soul.
children. You are literally signing up and selling for a few minutes of fake
Mhm.
relationship with God for, for this chaos, which is really the devil, which is, that's it, that right in itself is false light. It's
Yep.
selling this package of, this is bright and shiny for 2 seconds, and then the bright and shiny goes away, and you're literally just chasing that bright and shiny, and
Yep.
you're selling everything you own, everything down to your teeth, your hair, your skin, your nails, the skin on your fingers.
Yeah.
I mean, so many times the skin on my feet was literally black and just dying from
Yeah.
from the drugs. Like it's necrosis. It's death happening to your body while you're alive, and it's painful.
It
Sorry.
is. No, I'm glad you threw that in there. It's so and a lot of people can relate to that because of how many people have died, but it rots you out from the inside out. I had literally had to have all of my teeth pulled at 26. I my body has been through the ringer. I shouldn't be here, but um one of the parts in here, there's so many, but when I first started, it wasn't hard to get. It was pretty easy to get to. Over time, it started to get harder and harder, and of course, I had to do things that weren't the greatest things in order to get my next bag, and so either you dated someone that made it or sold it. That was where you wanted to be, or else it was basically selling your body, selling your soul, stealing, doing whatever it took to get your bag. And so I got a record, and thank the gods that my record doesn't reflect any kind of prostitution, because I feel like if my parents knew that, I don't even know if they would have been able to handle it, and so that's something that I took to their grave. I never let them know that. I never let them know that. That I had to do those things. And in the process, and see, this is where God turns it around for good, because in the process of doing all that bad shit, I was clearing karma, and I was also doing what was it? Basically finishing contracts with people, and clearing ancestral trauma, also trying to break curses and change the path of my family's lineage. And that includes all of our ancestors. And I can't do the math, but there is a meme that's out there that shows you how many relatives that you have that go back generations, like how many generations it goes back, how many of those people had to survive for you to be here right now, and it's mind-blowing to think about that in that respect. So literally clearing that karma, clearing that ancestral lineage, because we're not going to be stuck in this reincarnation curse anymore. It's not going to happen. We are breaking those curses, you know, and that's why they've punished us our whole lives. That's why they, you know, fed us poison. That's why they have put parasites in us. That's why they feed us GMOs. That's why they're altering our DNA. They're doing everything they can to prevent the ascension or whatever happens next. What is it? Evolution. That's basically what it is. But what's funny about it is they don't have the power anymore because they're losing. Anyways, but I did want to touch on a couple more things. Hold on one second. I know my guides wanted me to. You guys need to remind me what I was going to say. Okay, one of the times, okay. This one was weird, and I didn't quite understand what was going on with me at the time, but I was sitting, and I had a dose in a needle, in a rig. I'll call it a rig. And I was tied up. I was ready to just shoot it. I was ready to poke, you know, and go. And for some reason, I couldn't. I don't know what it was. My body was like, can't do this. My mind, these voices in my head were like, no, you can't do this. Don't do it. Don't do this. Don't stick it in you. Don't do it. And I honestly sat there fighting with myself for like 40 fucking minutes. Just, you know, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I remember just feeling so fucking hopeless, and I just wanted everything to end. Actually, I didn't. I've never wanted anything to end. I just wanted the pain to stop. Yeah. I've always just wanted to be out of pain. I didn't want to stop existing. I really don't. Even when I say I do, I don't. I don't want to hurt anymore. You know? And that's what I was feeling. I was like, fuck, and I couldn't do it. And so I gave it to somebody. I was like, here, I can't, I just couldn't. And I left. And my guides told me that because of that, I shifted a fucking timeline because of that choice. And they helped me because I was still able to listen. I was able to listen to that internal voice and not do it. And whatever it was, it shifted my entire life. Not exactly for the best at first, because even the highest timeline doesn't mean it's the easiest timeline. I hope that people need to understand that. Listen, just because you shift to the highest timeline doesn't mean it's the easiest timeline. No, okay. At all. Sometimes it's the hardest timeline because you have to make tough decisions. And you need to follow that intuition. So this is where the mirror work comes in. Some people use mirrors, some people just use thoughts, but you start tuning into yourself and listening to that inner voice. And the only reason I'm alive today is because of that inner voice. I listen to that inner voice. And that inner voice is God. That inner voice is your higher self. That inner voice is your team. It's your family. It's your ancestors. It's spirit. It's whatever you want to call it. It's universe. Okay, and everybody on this planet has the ability to tap into that. And not only that, every single person on this planet is going through the ascension process, whether they realize it or not. Either they're fighting it or they're going with the flow. There is no other way. I don't know where that came from, but it needed to be said. Because I'm plugged in right now. Like, I feel like I'm just flowing. I'm in flow, you know? But that had to come out. But I remember Becky, oh my God, the first time I used needles was like, I saw shadow people. And I don't know if you've seen shadow people, it's like, and what I remember seeing was basically shadows standing around me, and it looked like they were at control panels. I'm gonna be honest. It looked like they were at control panels, but I was only able to see it in my peripheral. So you know how you see it in your peripheral and you can't really get a clear picture of it, but you can feel it. And so if you can go into your feeling and just, it's craziness though. Like, we've always been tapped in. All of us are, but we have this ability to forget, and we need to stop doing that and get into remembering. And I think that a lot of people don't want to remember because it's painful. And we understand, don't we, Becky?
Yeah.
We understand painful shit.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody that's listening to this needs someone to listen to them, someone to cry to, someone to hold space for them, our information is below, and we're here for you. We have gone through the trauma so that we can help others deal with their trauma. That is how God is turning our pain into good, because we suffered so that we can help people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm getting close to wrapping it up.
We definitely survived that for a reason. If it was to carry a message to someone else, or so that we could continue in some way, we're definitely meant to be here. And if you're ready to wrap it up, I just wanted to share one more thing from
Absolutely.
Conversations with God. So the next page that I turn to, and you're going to laugh. Oh my God. The next page that I turn to, it says, "Ever hear of Lazarus?"
Yes, I have.
It says, "Oh, no fair." This is Neil. It was through the Christ power that he was raised from the dead. And God says, "Precisely." And you think that Christ's power is, as you call it, was reserved only for Lazarus, one person in the history of the world. And Neil says, "I hadn't thought about it that way." God says, "I tell you this, many have there been who have been raised from the dead. Many have there been who have come back to life. It's happening every day, right now, in your hospitals." And I'm getting chills. Oh, come on now. No fair again. That's medical science, not theology. God, oh, I see. God has nothing to do with today's miracles, only yesterday's. This is Neil. He says, "Okay, I'll give you the point on technical grounds, but no one has raised himself from the dead on their own like Jesus did. No one has come back from the dead that way." And God says, "Are you sure?" And Neil says, "Well, pretty sure." God says, "Have you ever heard of Mahavatar Babaji?" I'm not sure who that is, but I'm sure it's. He says, "I don't think we should bring Eastern mystics into this. A lot of people don't buy that stuff." God says, "I see. Well, of course, they might be right." um, Let me get this straight. Are you saying that souls can return from the so-called dead in spirit form or in physical form? If that's what they desire, he says, "You're beginning to understand now." All right, then why haven't more people done it? Why don't we hear about it every day? This kind of thing would make international news. And God says, "Actually, a lot of people do it in spirit form. Not many, I'll admit, choose to return to the body." Ha, there, gotcha. Why not? If this is so easy, why don't more souls do it? God says, "It's not a question of ease, it's a question of durability, desirability." I think durability fits there too.
That too.
Meaning, it's a very rare soul who desires to return to physicality in the same form as before. If the soul chooses to return to the body, it almost always does so with another body, a different one. In this way, it begins a new agenda, experiences new rememberings, undertakes new adventures. Generally, souls leave bodies because they are finished with them. They've completed what they joined with the body to do. They've experienced the experience they were seeking. What about people who die by accident? Were they finished with their experience, or was it cut off? Do you still imagine people die by accident? And I think I just want to read to the end of this page, and that's it.
Go for it. You're fine.
I mean, they don't. Nothing in this universe occurs by accident. There is no such thing as an accident, nor is there any such thing as coincidence. If I could convince myself that was true, I would never mourn again for those who have died. And I'll just finish with this paragraph. God says, "Mourning for them is the last thing they would want you to do. If you knew where they were and that they were there by their own higher choice, you would celebrate their departure. If you experienced what you call the afterlife for one moment, having come to it with your grandest thought about yourself and God, you would smile the biggest smile at their funeral and let joy fill your heart." And the fact that I turned to that page,
That
like,
was exactly.
out of what, how many pages are in this book? Out of 700 and
And
something
book.
pages, that's the pages I turned to, and that's exactly what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And if you don't think channeling is real, if you don't think that God has some kind of voice and some way to connect with us, I mean, think about that. We're talking about, coming back from the afterlife, and the page I turned to is talking about coming back from the afterlife.
Yeah. And we have, it's like we've come back from the dead, because and in your case, you were both physically as well as spiritually dead. I suffered spiritual death on this planet, and I suffered it many times. And the reason I did that was because at first I thought I deserved it because I was trying to buy my way into heaven with my suffering, which is unconscious, unfortunately. Um,
Well, that's what we're programmed to do, is to buy your way into heaven by suffering.
yeah, but
And that's what a lot of religions preach.
Yeah, heaven is what you create it to be. Heaven can be here right now. And you are the powerful one. You have God in you. You have God in you. You have the ability to set your intentions and create things. And why don't we root or set a goal for the highest excitement? The best case scenario. Why are we worried about, oh, well, this has to happen and that has to happen, the truther stuff or the dem stuff or this stuff or that stuff? Forget all that bullshit and just focus on you, and your journey is the most important thing. Your journey is the most important thing. And like my t-shirt says, trust your journey, trust your journey.
Yeah, and it's been a journey for sure. I mean, this has not been an easy road. And I think the ones that choose the most difficult journeys, it's not that it's, I'm better or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
for some reason we decided in this life that we were just going to hammer it out. Maybe we just didn't want to be incarnated a bunch more times, and we decided that we were going to get a lot done in this lifetime. Or maybe we've been through all of the stuff that that some people see as trivial. um Maybe we've gone through those lifetimes enough times to know that that's not why we're here. And so it's no place of coming from I'm better than someone else. It's just that I've learned that lesson, and I choose not to let that reoccur in this lifetime. I'm choosing something more meaningful for a reason, and whatever that reason is, I don't know. I signed up for it. I'm aware of that. Why, I don't know.
It'll come to you. It comes to you over time, because we have many, like, we're like, what's my purpose? We have many, we have many things to do. We didn't come here to do one thing. If you're on this path, you've got so much shit done in this life that because we already know on a soul level what's coming. Our higher selves know the future, and so if we tap into that, they will fill us in if you want. I like the element of surprise. I personally like surprise, and I also like to figure things out for myself too. And they know that.
Sometimes they just tell me no. Like, there's a reason that I don't have an awareness of the agenda, because there's other people who would tap in and get an idea, like give them a hint, So
Well, yeah,
I
that
don't
too.
know, so that they don't know.
Yep. Well, that too, and there's, like I said, the stuff that I do when I'm not in my body is I still don't know. I don't know everything. Sometimes I'm able to remember and sometimes I don't. But most of the time, I don't. And I know it's for a reason. And I'm pretty sure that it's because where I go when I'm sleeping or when I'm out of my body, it's a much better place than where I'm at. And I probably wouldn't want to be here. And that's why I'm having a dissociating issue. And that's why I'm going to counseling right now. Because I can't keep dissociating and going out of my body. I have to physically be here in the physical. That's why I'm here, to be in the physical, so that I could anchor this down, and we create the 5D, it's not created outside of us, so
we have to bring it here.
We bring it in through us.
We have this innate desire to want to be there and stay there, and if we were there and staying there, then we would be leaving everybody behind, and that's not our mission.
Well, isn't that what they teach us in religion? We're just going to get resurrected. Fuck you, buddy. I'm resurrected. Bye. You're left behind, buddy. Bye.
I know. My mother said something about the other day that she's hoping to go up in the rapture, and I said, I'm here to fight. I'm not going anywhere.
Good fucking luck with that, by the way. Enjoy your waiting around for nothing going to happen. Enjoy.
I said, I'm here for the fight. I am not here to be, siphoned off and God knows where I'm going.
That's not even real, like it's not real. Like that timeline does not exist anymore. Those were created, or they wanted us to create those, and the probabilities for those timelines don't exist because we're way beyond that now. We're way too high vibration, and so people need to get over that stuff. That's old stuff. It's old programming. Just let it go. Be open to new things. That's all. And God, use your discernment. Don't just pick up what everybody's laying down. Pick up something. If you don't like it, put it back down. Pick up something else and check it out. I mean, don't be rigid. That's what I'm trying to say. Be flexible, be open. That's where God works, in the openness and the flexibility, and and being open. That's letting your light in. Let the light in. If you're rigid, it's kind of hard for them to work with you.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you think about a box, a box doesn't have any doors or windows for the light to come in.
yeah,
You can't
exactly.
be this rigid square. You have to be this open. You have to be open and let the light in. And sometimes we've been in a cave so long, like the allegory of the cave. We've been in the cave so long that the light hurts our eyes. And it's scary, but you just let it in a little at a time, and eventually you want to be in full sunlight. And you don't want
Yeah, because you get the feels. Once you start getting the feels, then you're like, yes, I want to be there all the time, and that's why it is a gradual process. That's why ascension is a gradual process also. A little at a time, baby steps. Because
like
if
small
God it all
waves.
at once, it would either be excruciating for some, and it would be extremely, what am I trying to say? Like, people would lose it. I mean, some people would lose it. Some people would be like in a euphoria constantly, 24/7. Some would be in a lot of pain, and so it's something that is not a sudden deal. It's just not a sudden deal.
Not unless you want to consider death.
Yeah, and I mean they're already doing it, but
if you want to ascend real fast.
Yeah, well, the people, honestly, and this is the sad part, the people that are choosing to exit, it's because they already know that they're not that potential is out of reach for them, I guess, is what my guides are saying. Like that potential to be that high vibrational being on this planet is just out of reach for them. They can't quite make it. And so they're choosing to take an exit, and we need to honor that. However they want to take an exit, like who was I talking about? There's no accidents, everything happens for a reason. I just said that on freaking somewhere Twitter, because I'm on a ban.
I just read that too. There's no accidents. Nothing.
I just said that too. That's crazy. That is synchronicity, though, and also the synchronicity.
And there's no coincidence. It says nothing's by accident. And there's no coincidences.
None. Everything happens for a reason, literally. And when you're in flow, when you're with, you can see that. And just like all the bad shit that's happened to us, it can be used for good if you allow it to. But you have to let the light in, and sometimes it can be painful, like I said. So to reach out to Becky and me, that's all down below in the description box. My website's in hiatus because the domain expired, so I'm working on it still. So I think I got rid of all of my website info there. Anyways, to reach out, just follow the instructions there, use my email. And yeah, I think we should close it out because that is awesome.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. If not for anybody listening, it was great for us.
Absolutely. Oh, it's going to help a lot of people. I know it. I know it. I know it in my soul. All right. So everybody, let me see here. We're just going to close out. Let me actually just ding my bowl. Hold on. And we're going to put protection around anyone who's still listening. Okay, anyone that listened at all. We put protection around all of our listeners. Best case scenario. All right, Becky, I'm going to end it.
All right. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Love you. Talk to you soon.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye. Bye.